Good evening, YouTube. Robo Fury Man here, back again with another video. So we got these dudes here talking about Vladimir Putin's take on gender ideology from theology. So this is like a relatively medium-sized Christian channel, and discussing how their ideal role model, Vladimir Putin, the guy who's known for murdering journalists, is giving his woke take on the gender debate. And let's just jump right into it and see what they have to say.
So compassion for the confusion, compassion,
absolutely,
mercy, tenderness, patience, but redefining.
Compassionately and patiently not respecting someone's identity and way of life. Compassionately and patiently telling someone that they're sinners and they're going to hell and they need to abide by traditional gender roles, and compassionately misgendering people, and compassionately having higher murder rates, for trans people and non-binary. Compassionately trying to deny them access to the fucking bathrooms. Compassionately. Yeah. Compassionately insisting on identifying them as the person they by the dead naming, and identifying them as the person they were born at birth. Compassionately trying to deny them access to the military, even though the medical community, as a consensus, agrees that gender dysphoria is not enough to prohibit someone's ability to act, as a soldier or in generally any workforce, but was pushed by Trump and the conservatives anyway because they hate trans people, and yeah, so that's compassion, as in absolute bullshit, and they just want people to live within the narrow worldview that they do, and there's no excuses.
Reality is never going to heal us. It's only going to cement us in our dysfunction.
And when they say reality, they mean their ideology
and inability to understand who we really are.
Inability to understand how we really are. And then later on in the video, they start talking about how we have an irremovable soul that can be corrupted by gender, which is, like something out of a fucking fairy tale. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah, sorry, I reacted to this video a second ago, but then I realized that my headset was turned off. So that's lots of fun. Let's continue.
Jason, I recently saw on YouTube a comment from a world leader who shall for the moment remain nameless. Okay.
Yeah, they're inspiration for human rights and
said the
common sense
about the global gender theory, confusion, chaos. This is what he said. He says, this new gender ideology, I want you to guess who this is.
Except it's not new, and there's been trans and non-binary people for a very long time, until they were, in recent years actually brought into the world stage, because it's a new civil rights movement. What do you know? And there are more people in this world who are being discriminated against. It's a new age. It's a new movement for rights. It's a very good thing. It sort of happens. I imagine in the future we'll have a human rights movement for the transhumanists who want to be different species and stuff. And I'll be ready for that, to stick up for my trans goat allies.
Okay. This new gender ideology is very much like the coronavirus pandemic. New strains keep popping up, and we can't get away from it.
Yeah, new strains, which is actually what gender is supposed to be in the first place, because gender is reflective of your lived experiences, and gender is the identity that you identify with, based on the life that you have lived, and there's countless genders. Here, just give you a little example. Subscribe to Dreg right here. He's fucking hilarious. But yeah, this is a little more. So he does a lot of joke videos, but unironically, yeah, there's way more genders than this, and every one of them are uniquely reflective of different people's reflection of their life. So people's lives are just like drained batteries, I suppose, and other people's people believe in their gender is wanting equality, liberty, and alien versus predator gender. It's pretty based. The immortal gender. I'm just making them up, by the way. I don't know what all of these mean. But look at that. There's so much variety. For hundreds of years, you're saying the common sense way uh, is to go this direction. So boring. You got nothing better to offer us, Mr. Theology, bro. It's the you got to move along with the times. This is our new reality, and you can either accept that, or you can whine and maybe get deplatformed for hate speech.
What we need is to look for a proper antidote. If someone thinks that a man and a woman are the same, so be it. However, there is still some common.
Except no one actually says that biologically. They are not the same. Women have uteruses. Men have no, males have. So I had to catch myself there. I don't want to actually be transphobic. Males have penises. I digress. Let's continue. Yeah. So yeah.
Sense in the world. I think in the United States, a prisoner convicted of rape declared himself a woman and demanded that he be transferred to a woman's prison. So they did, and he promptly raped his female cellmate.
And this right here is not a reason to strip the rights of trans people. It's a reason to heighten the security in fucking prisons. Just to go over these statistics real quick. Around 80,000 women and men a year get sexually abused in American correctional facilities. And not just the fact that you have that, the clause in the 13th, which allows them basically to put prisoners to slave labor. There's also not much protection afforded to people, who are inmates with high-risk prisoners who have a history of abuse and violence. And yeah, a lot of the times these people will be put in solitary confinement, but sometimes that's not enough because eventually they'll be put back in the main pool and they'll be a threat to all these prisoners again. There is a serious problem of prison rape, male on male, female on female. Rape happens in prison regardless if they're trans or cis, whatever. And it's an issue of prison security. It's not an issue of trans people, being allowed to live as the person they identify as.
There should be some semblance of common sense in everything. Or take athletes. A man declares himself a woman and competes, say, in weightlifting or some other sport. Women's sport will cease to exist.
And no, it won't. Trans people are like around 1% of the population, and a lot of them, aren't in sports. A lot of them, aren't so confident, confident enough, to put themselves out there and actually get involved with that controversy. But kudos if they are willing to work hard and compete and have ambition in their lives. It sucks that they're that working hard and winning things is controversial in lives. But I'm not too educated on the trans and sports debate, but I can say that developing technology, we can project that we will be able to have implantable wombs. In the coming years, the transhumanism progresses. We'll be able to reshape someone's bone density and structure to be more of that, of the gender they identify with. So female to male wants to have broader shoulders and become taller, or male to female is, maybe could have more actually female proportions to closer relate to the gender they identify with. Then that would probably be more fair, for to have trans people in sports. So, but when we actually do get there, I sort of doubt that these people's opinion is going to change at all. They're going to find something in their chromosomes, or just like the bar is going to is always going to change. Like we changed their bone structures. They're going to say, oh, it's their chromosomes. We changed their chromosomes. It's going to say, like, oh, well, they've developed, they've trained it a certain way that would make it unfair, blah blah. So they would always move the bar in a way that is transphobic.
Completely. There must be some common sense. I uphold the traditional approach that a woman is a woman, a man is a man, a mother is a mother, a father is a father.
And trans men can be mothers, and trans women can be mothers. They don't, of course, they probably can't be a biological mother, but yeah, a mother. That's also a gender. Mother and father are genders. They're identities that people ascribe themselves based on the social happenings that have happened in their life.
Any guesses?
A world leader.
A world leader, like global dude. Like I'm not here to endorse his other policies and what he's about.
Yeah, he's not here to endorse like what are the only shitty world leaders that actually has this narrow-minded worldview. It's funny, like there a lack of the conservatives' lack of good role models and figures and of people to look up to who like reflect their values is hilarious, and they're always just like, oh, we don't condone like all of their other beliefs, but it's like fucking. There is no limit to how bad a person, that they will platform. Or say, like, if Kim Jong-un says, exposes the gender ideology, and they're just like, well-paced, epic, It's like, oh, but we don't condone his three-generation role, or, any of that. It's like, there's no person bad enough they won't just, like, prop up, as long as they're sharing their shitty ideology, with them. Like, no principles, like in regards to that.
But I found this fascinating that he said this.
I have no idea.
I find it fascinating that a shitty world leader had a shitty opinion.
Oh my.
Oh me. Oh my. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. Let's take a look at the comments. Yeah. Jesus and Joseph. It's for God. It's a bullshit channel.
Putin.
Yeah.
From Russia.
No Christianophobic intended. I do love Christians as long as they're good, loving people and aren't trying to impose their ideology on others like these two.
Here, Vladimir Putin.
Okay, I believe that.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
What struck you in that?
But proselytizing channels are bullshit just in general. Nothing against Christians or Muslims or Hindus or any of that. It just
struck me was the common sense. The common sense aspect. Yeah, which again,
the common sense based on a simplistic traditional worldview.
Ignoring whatever else I might want to bring to the table in the background of Putin.
Yeah. Just so everybody knows.
Yes.
All that aside, we are not endorsing Putin here, but we're finding it
Mm-hmm.
interesting that a world leader is saying this, because you're not finding any world leaders.
Find it interesting that the world's worst role models are the only ones who espouse your talking points.
Talking about this.
No, that's true. Yeah, that is fascinating, and I can't find much fault with what you just read, and it's the tragic stories over and over. What we're doing.
A simple-minded conservative can't find much fault with something that a simple-minded conservative quoted from another simple-minded fascist leader.
Dealing with, the rape story that is horrific. That's
brutal.
Yeah,
and where we.
Yeah, these people always do this as an excuse to strip people of their rights. It's like 60 years ago in the civil rights era. Like I talked about this in one of my other videos about Greg Gutfeld's shitty video over Dave Chappelle or whatever, and it's like, like someone in the civil rights era would have been like, we can't have black women in the same bathrooms as these non-binaries and these trans that are going to rape them and they pose a threat to their safety. They shouldn't be allowed at the same bathrooms because, and then when you actually push them, the reason isn't actually because they think that they're a threat. If you actually push them, it's actually because they don't think that they're real women, or they don't think that trans men are real men. And that's actually that's what I've actually, whenever I talk to some of my conservative family, it'll be like, so and then I bring up that civil rights debate. They would be like, oh yeah, but black women, they're real what? Okay, so it wasn't actually just about protecting women. It's that you think that trans women aren't real women and shouldn't be allowed to go in the women's bathroom. And that's what, and then they have to concede immediately. Yeah.
We go when we lose sight of how our bodies ground us in reality.
Our bodies ground us in what the fuck is he talking
I
about?
often say, you've heard me say this many times, what happens when we try to identify?
So if someone changes their sex and gender, and they're living life as a non-binary or whatever, that is their new body that is grounded in reality. In reality, non-binary and trans people exist. In the physical reality, this simplistic man, woman, child minivan worldview that you have it does not exist. Like, I mean, it may exist for some families, but that is a second. Pride Parade. This is part of reality, whether the fuck you like it or not. These people exist in reality. No matter what you have to say about them, like,
identify somebody without identifying his or her body. We quite literally identify nobody. And all this talk about
no bread, no body of Christ, the body of the Spirit, the Son, and the body of the bread and the wine.
identity in the modern world, with the embrace of this ideology, we are very quickly becoming a culture of quite literally nobodies. We are losing all sense.
Nobodies. That sounds awesome. So let's see what I get when I search up nobodies. Yeah, a rogue drifter, straight out of town. Hey, Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, this dude's chilling. Tell me where I can sign up to be this nobody. Hell yeah. I get to go to cool dark chill rooms. Yeah. Go live out in a cabin and be murdered by a chainsaw killer. Nobody's Kingdom Hearts. Let's take a look. These dudes, a lot of the nobodies, the Organization 13 are also nobodies. Of course, they're a highly advanced form of nobodies. But look at this dude. He's got long white hair. He's got his lightsabers. Badass, bro. Where can I sign up to be a nobody?
Of what it means to be human, and these are just a few of the symptoms. And
maybe I don't want to be human. Maybe I want to be transhuman. I want to be a lizard. I'm not infringing on your rights at all. And maybe you don't have to acknowledge me as a lizard, but also don't have to acknowledge you as a man. And I imagine that's not going to make you feel very good. So maybe it's better to just acknowledge people as the way they want to be acknowledged, because it doesn't hurt you.
At the same time, I have a profound compassion here. Like,
have a compassion. I want to compassionately impose my worldview on them.
Young girls, and this seems to be where the uptick is. So many young girls are claiming, "I'm not a girl. I'm a boy."
Mm-hmm.
And somebody pointed this out.
Source: so many. How many is so many? Please elaborate.
To me recently, I don't know who it was, but
because let's go ahead and take a look. What percent? Percent of people are trans. Oh, give me a number from the search. Don't make me search UCLA School of Law, UCLA. 1.4 million. Is that in America? All right, let's just say it's in America. That is like sub 1% of the U.S. population. So these kids, if they are trans, you generally discover their gender dysphoria. You know, like I guess maybe when they're in elementary or middle school, because that's when they start wanting to play with the when that's when the Hot Wheels or Barbies is a that's when they start to discover their gender identities when they're young, and that's like is like 0.3% of the population. If we have a population of over 300 million and 12 million are trans, then yeah, that is like sub 1%. That is like 0.3%. That is like a third of a percent of the population is going to be trans. So
It made sense to me. I was like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. And I had compassion. These young girls are getting exposed to violent pornography.
connect the dots here. Like we're so first we're saying these girls think that they're boys, and then the next sentence is they're being exposed to pornography. It's like apples and oranges, here, motherfucker. Are they talking about gender, or are they talking about Pornhub? Probably not. They're probably not showing them Pornhub in the kindergarten. They're probably just discovering their identity and their gender and just the very basic stuff. They're not the fuck, and then just conflating it and blowing up into this fucking sexual degeneracy like kind of thing. That's what these people do. They have to upscale like the seriousness like times over 9,000.
It's available on any smartphone, on any screen, with an internet connection. And, when you and I were young and going through all those stages of curiosity, and we weren't being fed in healthy, holy ways, we had to go find somebody in the neighborhood whose dad
had a penthouse,
Playboy magazines or something. We're not talking, that's not good either.
Now, granted, like, look, you have protections, on phones. You can put phones in kid mode. You have safe search. They've been developing all kinds of new ways to prevent say kids phone. Gab wireless safe cell phone for kids. See stuff to the shit will keep them off of Pornhub. It will keep them off of X videos. It's right there. That's where all my degeneracy lies. But yeah, it's immediately conflating, gender dysphoria and the desire to look at to go and search all kinds of porn is insane.
But we're not talking about that kind of pinup or picture of naked people. We're talking about violent, horrific things I won't even mention that goes on in porn that people are bringing up on their smartphones.
Which is all between consenting adults. Hopefully no sex trafficking victims were involved. That's why we should legalize sex work so that we can regulate the industry. Vor. Talk about pain role play. Where they like straps. There's 50 Shades of Grey. There's a safe word. That's fine. 50 Shades of Grey, is a movie that made $569.7 million in the box office, and really a lot of people didn't like it. But needless to say, that bondage and that the crazy shit is it is kind of a big thing in the world, and I personally wouldn't do a lot of that shit. But that's not to say that I should prevent someone else from exploring their desires with other consenting adults.
Phones, and when young girls are exposed.
But going back to the main point, there are many easy ways to prevent kids from accessing that shit.
Exposed to this. And also they're exposed to boys who are feeding on this all the time and want this behavior from them. It's no wonder.
You mean boys like girls? You mean boys discovered that they like girls from a young age? Like, they have crushes and stuff, and they call each other cooties? Like, that's not to say that it's fine for them to go into all kinds of degenerate shit, but It's to say, like, boys are also discovering their identity at a young age. Right.
That they're saying, I don't want to be a girl. If that's what it means to be a girl, I don't want to be that. So compassion for the confusion.
Now, look, it is important to help kids understand that gender is a very broad subject, and and plus, let's say like in abusive households, kids might grow up to hate men if their father leaves at a young age, or is abusive, or maybe their mom is terrible to them, or they have a bad experience with the way they're treated by a certain by a certain sex, at school, and yeah, but there are ways to combat sexism. There are ways to help them understand that there are good and bad qualities of gender, and that should not discourage them from from finding out their own identity, from a neutral standpoint, and know that man, woman are not bad, that they and them and Z are not bad just because of the experience that they had with that, that is, and that's a tough thing to do just in general, helping kids grow up and have that, open-minded viewpoint, that's just in general. Before gender really took off as a larger social issue, like that was a hard thing to do. Is raise kids to be objective and to not let their personal experience cloud their judgment of gender and people's identities. And that in order to minimize hate in society. Just because they were bullied by this group of Muslims doesn't mean that Muslims are bad. Just because they were bullied by by these atheists, because they grew up as a Christian kid, doesn't mean that atheists are bad. It's that's the thing that you have to do as a parent and in teachers. Before I go into much of a tangent about that, that's just a very basic principle that you should teach your kids, not just with gender, but with anything in life. That you should be objective.
Compassion,
Absolutely.
Mercy, tenderness, patience, but redefining reality.
Nope. The reality that you live in is the reality that you get. The reality of millions of non-binary and trans people existing is the reality that you live in, and you can either take it and live with it, or you can whine about it and maybe get deplatformed or something. I don't know, for hate speech.
Is never going to heal us. It's only going to cement us in our dysfunction and inability to understand who we really are.
Inability to understand who we really are, which is, I guess, a soul ball. Where there's like an immovable soul that's attached to your body or something that dies when your gender changes. That's I don't know. That was a really great movie, by the way. Seriously, you should watch it. That was one of my favorite scenes right here. Where they're out in the field, and they had the stock trader, something that he was lost, and they became shadows. Yeah, I should watch it again sometime.
And I do think that Vladimir Putin here, Putin, I don't even know how to say it, is wanting to inject some common sense.
He's wanting to inject a simple-minded worldview on his people, just like you.
Yeah, it's the identity struggle today is brutal. It is brutal.
Yeah, and it is accelerated by people who want to impose their simplistic worldview of identities on people who are struggling with gender dysphoria and other such things. People like this. The reason they're struggling with their identity, one main reason they're struggling with their identity, is because they're not being helped, and because they're being told that they're insane or have a mental disorder, or that they're not following the so-called natural order of things.
And you have 5 children,
and they're not being accepted.
And we've homeschooled most of the.
God forbid any of his 5 kids turn out to be trans or non-binary. I'm so sorry to those kids. I hope they find their. I hope that they find their right way in life.
Time, not entirely, but in large part on my end, because I want to preserve that identity.
Yeah,
I want their identity.
Yeah, he wants to impose. What he means is he wants to impose the identity that he assigned them at birth. Not help them discover their identity for themselves. It is only people like this who are brainwashing their kids into being something they're not the trans parents or the non-binary parents who are actually just helping their kid trying to discover their identity for themselves. That's what these people are doing.
Identity to flow from our faith, from the family.
Their faith. They're they're talking about not living in reality. Faith is not bounded in reality at all. Faith is just faith. So what if they said that? What if a trans person? What if a non-binary person told you that it was just part of their faith? Would you have some bullshit to say about that? Maybe, but they're not following the right faith. They need to follow my particular niche version of Christian faith.
I want their paradigm to be mom and dad and a loving family. And again, we're broken. We make mistakes.
Yeah, simple square box.
Pretending that we're perfect.
Squares and circles.
That's where I want their identity to flow from, so they go out into the world.
That's what I want their identity to be. I don't want them to discover their own identity.
From that. Because it's harder and harder in today's world to trust any other sense of identity out there, because identity has lost meaning. Identity just becomes whatever you decide you want it to be.
Exactly, and that's what gives it meaning. Let me just show you something real quick. Yeah, you develop your identity based on the lived experiences of your life, based on the person that you become, and your hobbies and your friends and all of your life choices. I've come to identify as a guitar player because I took the time out to learn guitar, and I discovered it is a passion. Yeah. I mean, also identify somewhat as a semi-fluent, Japanese speaker, because I've been learning on and off for like 8 years, and actually, I'm probably pretty rusty, but I can understand it better than I can speak it. けど、いつか俺は確かに日本語を勉強を繰り返してかな。とにかく。Anyway, that's back to the main point. Your identity has meaning based on the meaning that you give it. Yeah, what kind of an identity? I mean, you can also have an identity, based on the life and culture that surrounds you, or you could base your identity off of the path that you choose. Which someone can change nationality, someone can immigrate to another country, and they could be and they could identify as an Italian one day. They were born, raised in the U.S., and they start a new family somewhere else. Someone, these people, I assume they identify as Christian based on the life that they've lived. Yeah, your identity can be anything, something that was, but it's usually not biological. Your identity is usually. I don't just go around and identify as a person with a penis. Identify as stuff that's based on my experiences and I find interesting, and things that I love, things that reflect my gender, things that reflect me.
At whatever stage or phase of life you're in, and that is, if you really play that out, and it's not hard to, because we see people around us doing that, that is brutal. That is rough business. That is hard, so harsh on the human soul and human spirit.
Yeah, and it is literally death dealing.
Yeah.
This is where we get to the comedy bit.
Because when we separate the body and the soul,
The soul,
that's the
the
very
body, and the soul.
definition of death. The separation of body and soul. We are instituting a certain kind of death.
It reminds me again what the hell this has to do with gender. Like, come on.
In rupturing human identity.
I want to stop you there for a second, because you say that a lot. And
We're rupturing human identity with new genders. We're rupturing the soul, distorting the soul, and what the Father and the Son decided in the Holy Book.
And it can sound
it's so fucking silly, man.
It can sound kind of cute and clever, a little statement. But I want to encourage, if you've heard Christopher say that before, like, really press into that, because
Your body dies with new gender.
Obviously the separation.
I mean, your soul dies with new gender.
The body and soul is our definition of death. But really look into that, and what we're talking about in the modern world, isn't that our experience of sin?
Maybe this is symbolic of, that overly simplistic traditional life dying when you come to grasp with reality, and that sometimes it's just more complicated than than this. But seriously, going back to that whole compassion, compassion nonsense, like, um, this is something that that homophobes and transphobes and just generally, like, on the religious side, use to weaponize against the LGBT, like, all the time. They say, like, oh, they're preaching it from a point of, oh, Jesus loves you, Jesus wants what's right for you. I'm compassionate about. But then they approach it as, and then they get hate back. They approach it as if the people are being Christophobic. But yeah, we're not going to tolerate your intolerance. That's street preacher. Okay, search that. I didn't really get any results. What should I say? Street preacher, Christ, LGBT. Okay, yes.
Minutes, members.
Go away. Okay, so you're a bigot.
David Lynn, seen here on the microphone, was telling passersby that he's, quote, coming out of the closet as a Christian. All of this was also being lied.
I mean, what is the point of that? Like, you're coming out as a Christian. What does that imply? Like, you're approaching, like, you're here out approaching a whole bunch of members of the LGBT community. Like, you clearly haven't. There's a message behind that. It's like, okay, it's like, are you here to talk about how Christ is accepting of all cultures, and is accepting of the LGBT, or are you here to tell them that you're coming out to let them know that they're sinners?
Streamed on the group's YouTube channel.
So you tolerate me as a Christian? As long as you tolerate me as a gay man.
Exactly, and tolerate him as a Christian as long as you tolerate him as a gay person. That's the way to do it. But it's not about that at all. They can't tolerate. Their idea of tolerance is that they will allow them to exist as long as they know that being gay or trans or any of that is a sin and degenerate in the eyes of Jesus. That's their idea of tolerance.
15 minutes, members of Toronto's LGBTQ community clapped back, hoisting signs that read, "Love is love." Show me your love. Show me love. They've been on guard since last month when another preacher named Dore Love took to the streets here in the village, preaching explicitly about homosexuality being sinful.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's their version of love and acceptance. Comes with the terms and conditions. I humbly request that you change your degenerate ways. Saying, while living in a fairy tale themselves, claiming to know what reality is. Saying, I assaulted him. Oh. What's right? Now, that's not to say that I support assault on street preachers or hate preachers, as you should call them that. But I mean, don't be surprised to if it happens, if you're out spewing some fascist garbage like that. If that's the gospel, then maybe we don't need the gospel anymore. But Jesus around. Jesus was a radical, nonviolent revolutionary who hung around with lepers. I'm going to make sure it's on the right side. Open link in new tab. Making sure I'm not blocking my view isn't blocking it. Jesus was a radical, nonviolent revolutionary who hung around with lepers, hookers, and crooks, wasn't American and never spoke English, was anti-wealth, anti-death penalty, and anti-public prayer, but was never anti-gay, never mentioned abortion or birth control, never called the poor lazy, never justified torture, never fought for tax cuts for the wealthiest Nazarenes, never asked a leper for his copay, and was a long-haired, brown-skinned, homeless community organizing, anti-slut-shaming Middle Eastern Jew. Hell fucking yeah. If Jesus was alive today, he would be like, who the fuck are these people speaking in my name? Alright. So remember when he was like knocking over the tables at the, you know, he was knocking over the tables of the tax collectors stuff. It's crazy.
First of all,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
Anything that's sinful deals
Ruptures us.
death.
It's arbitrary. What's sinful is based on what your view of sinful is. It's completely arbitrary. I think it's sinful to well, it's sinful. It's based on a purity culture. It's not even based on the sin. Isn't even based on it. Completely based on infringing on other people's rights. It's based on someone not living by the traditional values, which are, and as I would consider, outdated and not all that useful.
Causes death.
To varying degrees.
Yeah.
If you don't want to abide by those values.
And so when we take it so far as altering our body and destroying our identity of the very
No, they're finding their own identity. It's not destroying. Certainly they're not living by the identity. They're certainly destroying like your view of what their identity should be, but they are living their true identity to their fullest.
very nature of who we are, understanding who we are, there's no good fruit that comes from that.
Yeah. We at the Theology of the Body Institute, our mission is to apply.
A mission. Let me tell you about my mission. Probably Satan. Let me show you. A good mission. Temple. Quote. Creed. It's the best mission for you. Oh, wait, let me see. Satanic Temple. One should strive. The 7 fundamental tenets. Open link in new tab. Here's a mission for you. I'm going to have to control F. Oh, come on. Alright. Wait, is it there? No, one should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards... Oh, come on! Show me the fucking creed! Alright. Alright, they have a really cool creed that they use. I'm just gonna keep looking for it. One should... I'm gonna show it on this. Damn it. Because I'm on this side of the screen and I'm trying to move... Open image in new tab. There we go. One should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. One's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. And, yeah, I'm not saying that they don't have the right to offend. I'm just saying I have the right to call them out for their bullshit. I don't think the government should punish them for this bullshit that they're putting out. But forego one's own. Belief should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world, which is what they do. The gender dysphoria is a scientifically proven part of many people's lives, and the medical community has come to the consensus that sometimes transitioning is the best course that they can take for their own mental health, and based on the scientific understanding that they've had, that's what they should do for their own well-being. One should take care and not just accept the role that they were assigned at birth. That's the scientific understanding that they came to. One should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. Yeah, saying that gender dysphoria is when they're actually just confused and that they should accept the person they were assigned at birth. Yeah, that's distorting facts. People are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do best to rectify it and resolve any harm that may have been caused. Every tenet is the guiding principle desired. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so yeah. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. Exactly. So even people, even the Satanic Temple, It you know, their creed is so much more based than anything I've heard come out of Christianity. Anyway, that's where I'm gonna leave this. Make sure to comment down below what you think about this video. Subscribe. Hit that like button. Share with your friends, your family. Yeah, your mom, your dad, your sister, your cousin, your auntie, your nephews, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, your step cousins, your stepdaddy, your step bro. Yeah. What are you doing, step bro? Yeah, and I'll see you all in the next video.